Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning for those in the Netherlands, and welcome to another COVID briefing. Hi, Frank. How are you?
Hi, Guido. Very well.
Keeping it safe there in the office?
Yeah, it's I guess I'm far away from people at the moment to take it off. So, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
Microsoft. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's very tight here in the industrial park, obviously.
Yeah. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing there?
Yeah, it is obviously very quiet. No buses, no taxis. The Hipfuk seems to be vaccinating. We were told they would also vaccinate us, but so far nothing has happened. So we are waiting and seeing, so to say.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. That's nice to hear something from you. Let's see who else is there. I see Christian Dutel is in there. Bart, Martijn, hi Al, Marcel, Sebastian, who are helping. Danny, who are helping. Danny, are you already out of home quarantine?
Oh, hi, Guido. My video isn't working for some reason.
No worries.
Oh wait, I have it. Yeah, well, I got out of the quarantine, but now I'm back into working from home. So I spent 2 weeks in the office in Binjum, but yeah, because of some narrow cases of some of our factory employees, the management decided that most people should be working from home.
Yeah.
In case those 2 cases would test positive, and then they would basically barricade the whole area, and then we cannot go back home. So
yeah,
we're working from home now. Most of the staff, the office staff.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that update. And yeah, indeed, I also talked to Jos, and yeah. There are so many COVID cases now that it is actually quite common for business managers to have to deal with such a case. It's not that exceptional anymore. So what we're seeing is basically a new episode, because the whole COVID wave is taking so long that everyone is taking so much pain from this problematic situation. And one thing that I was thinking of, and it might be good to start the webinar with that, is to start business continuity roundtables again, like we did last year. And I was thinking of doing it, for example, 1/2 hour do a training. There's one DBAV member from KPMG. His name is Tim Kramer, and he can, for example, do a good webinar on cost cutting and working capital management and that type of stuff. Is that something, maybe thumbs up or thumbs down, or a quick comment, that DBAV could help with by organizing that? Or is it something that you think, nah, this is for me the new normal already, and I cannot be helped by, for example, sharing best practices?
I think best practices are always a good idea, Guido. I mean, everybody does what they do, but it doesn't mean you cannot learn from others, right?
No, that's right. No, true. That also costs time that people maybe don't have. So we want to be relevant and to the point. I'm thinking of starting up something next week with 1/2 hour of working capital management training, or some cost cutting exercises, or some principles that we maybe can learn from, and then some 30 minutes learn from best practices. For example, one of the problems that a lot of companies now are apparently are facing is that F2 patients sometimes also fake that they are an F2, so they can just stay at home and still enjoy their salary. And the question, for example, that entrepreneurs seem to have is, how can I work against that? Is it possible to, for example, pay a lower salary for my staff? Right, so
there is legislation on that, about F2s.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly, and I don't know what that exact legislation is, but it could be good to share around that specific topic.
It's F2 is reasonably well defined as far as I know. What need to be done and what can be done afterwards. So
yeah.
Okay,
on to the briefing, and thanks for that input. I think it could be good to start with. Let me see if there was this webinar on Friday of EuroCham, and I think that is a good starting point for this week. I'm just loading up my summary that I made. If you haven't received the summary, then just drop me an email and I will make sure that you get it. So basically, they said a couple of things. A number of things is what they said. One is that Vietnam has woken up and did a very good job in the second half, let's say, of obtaining vaccines. And right now, I believe there are about 150 million vaccines secured already. The second problem that is now coming up after procurement is the distribution of those vaccines, because from July there will be 10 million vaccines coming our way here in Vietnam, and there is no real plan that is actually workable on for such a large country that the government is currently having. So like the vaccine rollout strategy and the let's say the jabbing strategy is not very clear, and the ideas that the government has seem to be conflicting with, for example, a renowned hospital like FV Hospital. And the director of FV Hospital, for example, explained how he saw a good system in place and explained how the Vietnamese government, the Ministry of Health, wanted to do the jabbing, the actual vaccinating, and he explained that if they would do it like that and not change their efficiency, then that would take more than 2 years to complete. And he was actually very concerned about that. So know that is still very much on the. Let's say it's very difficult to predict like how it's going to be, and surely they will not stick with their 1.0 strategy, and they will probably evolve their thinking. But right now the way of thinking is according to one of the most Western private hospitals, absolutely not enough yet. I thought the most important takeaway was that the Vietnamese vaccination program is, in the most positive scenario, expected to start in July, so that's next month, and will take up speed in August. And it will then end at the first quarter of 2022 with herd immunity. But this is the most positive scenario, and this also assumes that the vaccination program will really take up a lot more speed than is practically possible now. So keep that in mind as well. What I'm hearing from some members, for example, I got a press release from a DBAV member from Tiel. They claim that they have bought a lot of Pfizer vaccines, and that they have bought that through the Timber Association of Binh Duong. I know that other companies, large companies, have also been able to obtain vaccines from the COVAX program. So there are some companies, there is some movement there. And for me, for the DBAV, it has not been possible to obtain vaccines so far. We did get indeed opportunity to, for example, buy Russian vaccine from Sputnik. But that is something that we didn't further pursue because we couldn't get right what the legal documents behind that were. So we couldn't make out if it was a scam or not. And that is what you see a lot, is that it's any form of private procurement was advised by EuroCham is most probably illegal or parallel import. And I don't know enough about that subject to define, because you get you get a WhatsApp message or you get a phone call, and then you have to define whether or not that is suitable to disseminate to your members. And well, I discussed it with the board, and we ended up not doing that. So until today, it is actually so that there's much that remains unclear about the price of public vaccination from the Vietnamese government, and still vague regulations are being thrown out there into the market, such as, for example, today's regulation that international travelers on domestic flights had to bring additional paperwork. And it was a very long, elaborate article about what type of paperwork to bring. where if you would just summarize it in one sentence, it basically said, don't forget to bring your passport. So sometimes you read things in the news and then they are completely blown up or taken out of context just for clicks. So that's what I'm seeing in terms of, let's say, EuroCham webinar, but also like the avalanche of news that is coming towards us. Oh, let me see, it's another one. Newsletter. So yeah, this morning I sent out a newsletter. Basically some returning subjects in that newsletter, such as Vietnam Weekly. It's a very interesting. It's actually a very interesting newsletter from Michael Tatarsky, and he always comes up with new things. And I don't only like his sum up of the news and how he links stories to each other, but also his interpretation is usually very common sense. So I can really highly recommend that you subscribe to it. Also, his paid version is very good, and I've subscribed to it myself. And one of the things he put in his newsletter was a graph of the number of infections in Ho Chi Minh, and it just shows that it's basically, yeah, the wave has just come up, and it's very unclear when it will end. But there's clearly a rising trend visible. Another thing that I found was actually in Michael Tatarsky's newsletter, Vietnam Weekly, was a weekly report from the Vietnamese department of the World Health Organization. And the last one was published on June 15th. So I think the next one will come out on June 22. And it contains about 19 or 20 pages of very detailed numbers and information. For example, the number of hospital cases broken down per hospital, and that kind of information. So if you really want to know specifically about your region or about the public hospital close to your business, then it could be good to also look into that report of the WHO, because that is really first-hand information from the horse's mouth, as they say. In terms of flight schedules, there has been there have been no changes so far. I think right now it's the 22nd, so there's no Air France coming in. That will be in the week after this week, the 3rd and the 4th, inbound and outbound from into Paris. And there's Qatar Airways, and there is some confusion about Qatar Airways, some confusion also in their communications, but their flights are still on. They are still going. Somehow people were worried that their flights were not going anymore and that flights were cancelled. I have not seen anything yet in that direction, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I did hear some confusion about Qatar Airways flights. So let me know if I'm missing anything there. And then there's Emirates. As far as I know, their stopover flights are still suspended, at least temporarily. So that means that you cannot fly from Ho Chi Minh to Dubai. And if you have a ticket booked with Emirates, then you need to contact them and change that ticket. Another thing that I've done, by the way, is I've updated the web page on the entry permit service. It could actually be nice to just show you that briefly. I have, let me see if I can pull that up. Okay, Marcel says, I've got a Qatar Airways flight leaving on Saturday. Okay, because Marcel, someone told me that he said that some flights were canceled or so and that they were not picking up the phone. Okay, there we go. You got first a mail with the confirmation, then with the cancellation. So that's quite weird. And let me just check right away with Wendy what's going on there. Wendy is their country manager. Let me see, hopefully, hi Wendy, what's going on with QA flights these days? Being cancelled. Okay, so let me just go through a couple of chats, pending the answer from Wendy from Qatar Airways. Sebastian says, my friend working at FPT informed me vaccination started within her company. with AstraZeneca since this week. Yeah, that's correct. So that's the COVAX program, if I'm not mistaken. Then Thomas said we had the first 100 vaccinations at CMIT. And Thomas, can you elaborate on what kind of what brand vaccinations that was and where they came from?
It was AstraZeneca, and came through the government. We have been prioritized as a strategic business, so we got it through the Bahia Wungtao province government.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. I'm just texting to Wendy, seeing if she is available to join this this briefing right away. And Sebastian advised to Marcel to call the Qatar office in Ho Chi Minh. Okay, well, thanks for that, Thomas, and let's see if Wendy can come in. Just 1 second, please. Yeah, that's great. Let me see how that goes. So while we're waiting for Wendy to join the call, Wendy is the country manager of Qatar Airways. So that's actually nice to just have her in briefly. And meanwhile, I'll just show you this beautiful new webpage that I made. And of course, feel free to share this page. What we offer is an all-in package for expats that want to enter or return to Vietnam. That's clear. And we have got these webinars that we're doing right now, but also we have got the webinar with the ambassador and some satisfied customers. Well, keeps you off the street, as they say in the Netherlands. Let me see. I hope she can join in at some point.
Through that program, Guido.
Yeah.
So you also book the flights, or we have to book the flights ourselves and then contract DBAV to have again the correct paperwork to get in and out of Vietnam?
We can assist you in booking the flight, but usually the payment and so on, that's usually done by the customer themselves. Only when you fly into Vietnam, it has been sometimes we have been asked to assist with the.
Okay.
With
and do you know?
And then,
my TDR is expiring in August, and my company is in the process of renewing it. Do you know if I can fly out with my old TDR and then via DHL, for example, they send in a new one, or will that complicate the process, or do you know?
Yeah, I know it's possible. It's a little bit more complicated, obviously, if you have to renew, but you can come in either way. If you qualify as a foreign expert, and you clearly do, and so you have to have your right diploma, the work experience letter and all that, then essentially it's just another step in the process, another hurdle to take, but it shouldn't stop you from from getting your entry permit done. So I would, if I were you, not be worried too much. If you leave the country now and organize everything on the go while you're back home in Europe, then all should be possible, and it should be able to organize that from a distance, including a new TRC.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then maybe one other question, hopefully it's also relevant for other people who are considering to travel to Europe. Once you arrive back in Netherlands, can we travel, for example, to Belgium and France, or do we first have to stay in quarantine in Netherlands for 10 days?
I'm really happy that you asked that question, because it's actually an advice still from the government to take home quarantine, but it's not required any longer. So what people do is they get a PCR. Well, you have to get a PCR test before you fly back home, and then you are requested to take 5 days quarantine. And after those 5 days, you can get a test again. And if you test negative, then you're free to go about your day and go about your business. But it's not mandatory at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Marcel, it's not required. It's a strong advice from the government. And welcome Björn to the call, and also welcome Miss Wendy from Qatar Air to the call. Björn and Wendy. Let's start with Wendy. Wendy, can you talk a little bit more about Qatar Airways and the current situation? And Björn, after that, could you maybe elaborate a bit on the relocation flight on 3 August?
Yeah, thank you, Guido, for letting me know that there are some questions about our flight, and there is a concern of whether we are canceling our service to and from Vietnam. So just to confirm with you that we still operate as normal. And currently, maybe some of the bookings that our customers have booked on Qatar Airways to get into Vietnam have been cancelled by the system. It was just because the system auto cancel due to the extension of the no time. And then we had to close all the flights after the 16th of June until the 20th of September for sale. Because otherwise, the bookings, people still continue to book online and also with the agents, which make the difficulty because people who think that the flights are still open for them to travel with that ticket. So as a result, the flights which have been booked before also got cancelled. So those who got the cancellation notification from Qatar Airways, please contact us so that you can be rebooked the service again and also to be placed on the specific weekly inbound flights into Vietnam.
Yeah.
So I hope this answers on your concerns because we still operate as normal until the 31st of October.
Thanks for clearing that up, Miss Wendy. And it must be slightly frustrating to get in fewer bookings than usual, and then still to have to obligatory cancel them and then reconvince your customers to come back on.
Yeah, it's just because the system somehow when when we run the scanning of the flights and then the flights are on closed for sale. So that means all the bookings which were booked before also have to be cancelled because it's a part of it. It's part of the process. But then after that, the booking will be revisited by our team and then you will be reinstate all the bookings accordingly. However, it is up to which flights that you were booked before. If you booked the flights which are not the specific weekly inbound flights that we still operate, we will have to remain cancelled. So my suggestion is please, if anyone who got the cancellation notification from Qatar Airways before on the current booking, please kindly contact us.
Yeah.
Because we do not operate all the flights that we currently have into Vietnam. We only have a specific flights of the week that maybe many of you are already aware of that, to get into Hanoi every Friday and to get into Ho Chi Minh City every Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the, in our newsletter, we have the Qatar Airways inbound and outbound schedule. Let me just quickly run that past you. Just 1 second, please.
Yes.
Making sure that that is correct. This is the one, right?
Yes, exactly. This is still the same.
So this is still going, and if you get a cancellation, it's automated, and you need to contact the booking office.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You see in your screen, which is the current schedule that we have operating both into Vietnam and out of Vietnam. So those with a tick on the schedule is the weekly inbound flight that we organize to get people into Vietnam.
Yeah. The one with the tick, so that is going from Doha to Saigon, and that is with customers. And the other one is cargo or ferry.
Yes, exactly. So those with which is stated as with customer and with a tick, that means that we do operate.
Yeah.
Other than that, the others are actually we still operate, but it's only cargo. We don't have passenger on board.
Okay. And now that you're here, do you have any updates on, for example, these ferry flights carrying vaccines on board, or are you involved in that logistical process at all with Qatar Airways?
Sorry, please come again.
I was asking, are you involved with the vaccination logistics? And for example, is Qatar Airways currently flying a lot of vaccination cargo into Vietnam?
We just carried about more than 1 million vaccines into Vietnam. I think about more than a month ago into Hanoi. That is the latest cargo shipment that we did to carry the vaccines to Vietnam.
Yeah. And how is the role of Qatar Airways in such a process? Is that for you guys a normal shipment, or is that something that you do as
Indeed, that is actually out of my knowledge, because it is handled by our cargo colleagues. But anyway, for my knowledge, that I understand that it has to be handled separately by different container.
Yeah. Okay. Now, great to hear and fantastic. I really appreciate that you came in the call so fast. I was a little bit lucky, but very nice to get your information.
Yeah, thank you, Guido.
And would you be so kind to put your the email address that people can reach in the chat box?
Yes, we can. I can share with you now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then I'm moving on to Björn now, because Björn, I'm actually lucky twice because Björn is now in the call. And Björn, are you able to talk a bit more with us about the AHK flight that's set to go on August 3rd, please?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I can. In general terms, I'm not part of the inner circle of the project team. I'm just the guy who signs the invoices at the end of the day. So the flight will depart. So we did a couple of charter flights for the past year. First one, I believe, was last year in June or July, and the next one was in October. Then we planned 2 other charter flights for February and now for May. The last 2 we had to cancel, the one in February because we didn't have enough passengers, and the one in May because the authorities didn't respond to our requests at the end of the day. So the next one will be up for departure on 3rd of August from Frankfurt. And this flight will go to Ho Chi Minh City. So it's a dedicated charter flight with a lot of Europeans on board. We already asked for expressions of interest, and we received 140 such expressions of interest from foreigners. So Europeans, not just Germans, but also I guess Dutch and French and Britons.
How many Dutch people about, do you think? Do you have any idea?
I really don't know. Last time I remember we had a lot of Italians for some reason. So maybe this time we have a large Dutch delegation. I don't know. I really don't know. And yeah, and then we have now 140 expressions of interest, hopefully also at least 140 passengers at the end of the day. The seats that will be stay open, will be left open by foreigners, will be filled up with Vietnamese. So this is also repatriation flights. So this is special. So basically, very basically, doesn't matter how many foreigners we have, we can still fill it up with Vietnamese who would like to return from Europe to Vietnam. So again, the next flight will be on August 3rd, Frankfurt to Ho Chi Minh City. Pricing will be 1,800 euros for economy, and business as well as premier economy class are available on request. And the carrier, I believe, is Vietnam Airlines, but we didn't announce it in the mail. So the last flights we did with Bamboo Airlines, but this time we switched to Vietnam Airlines, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
And then again,
reason why?
I guess the negotiations were easier with Vietnam Airlines this time.
Okay.
I don't know. Last time I remember that my colleague said that Vietnam Airlines, that Bamboo was more accommodating carrier, but this time it seems to be Vietnam. As far as I remember. But please don't nail me on this.
No.
I don't see it here. Okay, good. Yeah, and so we will only go to Ho Chi Minh City this time. Last time we went to Hanoi first, and then the flight went on to Ho Chi Minh City. This time it's Ho Chi Minh City only, because it proved to be difficult to talk to the authorities of both cities. So in Ho Chi Minh City, we have a long row of quarantine hotels that we can offer. It's not long, it's only 4 hotels. It's the Ibis, something called the Danyat Holiday Inn in Norfolk. Ibis starts at 1.7 million dong per night, and Norfolk is 6 million dong per night. So we have diverse options here. Entry permits shouldn't be that much of an issue because we have the so-called golden ticket. So this is easier in comparison if you do it alone.
That's basically what you get is a bank exception from the Office of Government, right? So 180 people just move on.
Yeah. So my colleague called this a golden ticket. Yeah. And I remember last time we didn't have any issues.
Nice way of selling them. It's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, exactly.
But of course, on the other hand, not quite. So the last two flights were unfortunately cancelled well in advance, so people could make other plans. What guarantee do you have now for passengers that are traveling in August?
So the flight will be full, as I said, but of course, it's all pending final government approval, not just central government, but city authorities, CDC and whatnot. So last time it was, I believe, the city governments that weren't playing along. So for this time, we also cannot guarantee anything. But again, I would guess that if the infection numbers should not be too high, I guess we will get permission to land here in Vietnam, but there cannot be any guarantee. And I hope if we do not get permission that we can advise the passengers as early as possible.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's an interesting role that you play with this exception that you got from the Office of Government. It's something that I've, to be honest, also looked into, but we seem not to get enough people together to organize such a flight from the Netherlands. So yeah, I can only advise if you are flying back around August, then this could be a great option. And Björn, do you have any vision on, for example, the quarantine times being reduced, or does AHK? Let's start with that question. Quarantine times reduction. Any news from your side?
No. We're also getting asked, because people read the press and read about these discussions that you just were talking about use quarantine times for vaccinated people and so on, but nothing currently.
Yeah. Okay, and then of course the second question: the vaccination process. Are you as involved as with the charter flights, or is that something that is going past you?
Yeah, so this would be like what is it called in English? So I just know one term called lobbying efforts. These lobbying efforts are largely steered through our chief delegate and also through the German Business Association, who in turn talk with EuroCham. So as far as I know, this is a joint European effort now. I hope you all joined the webinar. I believe it was yesterday. Friday. Okay. Yeah. On Friday. So it seems to be moving on. But I'm not really involved, no.
No, okay. So, for example, the efforts of the GBA in terms of lobbying also go through the EuroCham, or are there also individual conversations?
No. We Germans are very convinced Europeans, and we try to play everything via EuroCham. By the way, also the flight has been announced through EuroCham channels and also through the bilateral chambers from Europe. So we hope that we will see a lot of Europeans on this flight.
Yeah. For sure. Now, the thing that we are experiencing with the entry permits is that after, let's say, a couple of weeks where it was really impossible to make any movements, it seems to be opening up a little bit, like things are going a little bit smoother than they used to. But it is still quite a pain to obtain all the documents that are required. And then the waiting time is also discouraging long. And then, of course, there's also the quarantine time that we can do nothing about and that we hope will end soon. But yeah, it's still a very frustrating process and still very difficult for businesses to be in the middle of this and mitigate.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we have, for example, we are not receiving a lot of requests currently about entries. So since the quarantine period has basically extended to 4 weeks, I guess most companies that would like to send staff here are totally discouraged from coming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we see that in the number of market entrants that just basically not there. There are few entrepreneurs that are really perseverant about going into Vietnam, and there are some options for them, but all of the other entrepreneurs are just waiting for this to end. Yeah. Let me see. Does anyone have any questions for me, for Björn, or I think Wendy is also still in the call? Because usually, Björn, this briefing takes about 30 minutes, and we have just now rescheduled it to 3 p.m. And well, the reward is that we get double the people in the call. So let's stick to this schedule. Yeah, you're warmly invited to join us, Björn and Wendy, and everyone who has something to say, obviously, about this. We're very grateful for having you in here for a few minutes, so we can update ourselves.
Yeah. So I just copied the mail address on the relocation on the coming charter flight here into the chat. So if you're interested, just write an email to our colleagues.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done. Well done. Okay, thank you, Björn, and thanks to everyone in chat. And catch up next week again, and hopefully things will be better soon. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye, Wendy. Bye.